Hello, and welcome to the second last of the territories in Canada, the Northwest Territories. So for the Northwest Territories, I chose to not only feature a very common Indigenous recipe, which I had tried before, but I had never made myself, as well as an ingredient that I had just tasted for the first time recently. So the Indigenous recipe that I'm going to feature is Bannock. So that should be an interesting challenge for me. And the ingredient that I just recently tried is birch syrup. So that was an interesting one. I had birch sap before, but I had never had syrup. And it is definitely, you don't want to treat it like maple syrup because it is not as sweet. That was, I think, the biggest lesson I learned, that it's not maple syrup. Maple syrup is very, very sweet. Birch syrup is not. So it's kind of interesting that sap from two trees can taste so vastly different, especially when made into a syrup. So here we go. Let's go explore that. Now the drink recipe is actually a recipe I found a while ago. We got birch syrup in at work, and me being me, I wanted to taste it, and I wanted to find a recipe that could kind of help people figure out other ways of using it as well. So I found this recipe. So as you can see from the original link for the recipe, I did have to add birch syrup to this to make my whole goal possible. But it actually added a nice little, tart's the wrong word, but a umami taste, I guess, is to it, and kind of cut back on that sweetness of the maple syrup. So it did enhance it quite a bit. So here we are. I am going to make it again for you. So first thing we're gonna do is add that flour. Then your baking powder and salt. And then your lard. And I think this is what made the dough so smooth, so much fun to mix in. And here's where I got to start mixing in. Oh, that was some soft dough. Once your lard has been fully incorporated into the dough and broken up into tiny bits, you're going to add the water and give it a nice mix. Trust me, this step, it's dirty, but it's so much fun. Once your nice soft dough is all nicely mixed, you're going to roll it out on a floured surface and floured rolling pin, of course. Once your dough has reached the proper thickness, you're going to want to cut it out. I did round ones, not only because that's what the recipe said, but also that's the only basic shape I had. Otherwise, it would be some weird cookie cutter shape. And then once you've got your dough all cut up, you're of course going to bake them, which I forgot to film, but here is the final look. And now for the drink, you're going to want to start by adding ice to your shaker. Next, add some lime juice. You can also add some rum here as per the recipe, but I decided not to. Then goes in your maple syrup. And your birch syrup. And then your apple cider. In my case, I did make it myself, so I'll put the recipe down below in the description box. Now put the top on and shake. Now the original recipe does call for rum, which you can add and it tastes wonderful with, but I felt like making this a virgin drink this time around. Okay, here you pour it out. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you're also supposed to add cinnamon, but because I made my apple cider myself, it was already very cinnamony, so I didn't need to add more. Now here's the drink. So I did decide to put the ice cube into it to keep it even more chilled. So, oh yeah. You know, it's funny because that, with the homemade apple cider, it definitely tastes different. Still good, but that homemadeness of the apple cider can definitely be tasted, and yeah, it's really good. Really, really good. Cheers. And now the Bannock. So good. And let me tell you, the dough, the softest dough I have worked with, it was just, oh, just the feel of it was just so soft, and I imagine it would be like, I imagine the feel of the dough would very much be like how people who work with different fabrics would feel about things like silk and other really soft textures, because this dough was just so smooth and just, oh my gosh, I would make it again just to feel the dough. Like, it was one of the best feelings in the world for me. So yeah, I'd say this was a huge success. And everyone, can you believe we are almost done? 12 provinces and territories down, one more territory to go. See ya in... You guys can... Oh my gosh, can you believe we are almost done? 12 provinces and territories down, one final territory left to go. So I'll see you guys all in the Yukon.